Welcome back to a new video. It's been a minute since I made one of these, but in this one, I'm going to go over how to actually build an e-com bot. The reason this came about was we had somebody reach out to us. They had a premium like bedding and home furniture store, basically, right? They had about four main products and they wanted a very specific, basically, flow to the conversation. It was based off of this sales technique called, I believe, called the Sandler sales technique. So we sold it for, I believe it was around 2.1K, but unfortunately the deal never went through. But this was after we built basically the entire thing. So I was like, we might as well make it free to everybody. And so if you actually want access to this bot, the voice flow file as well as the Airtable one, I'll not only show you how we built it, but I'll include a link in the description. You have to put in your email and then it'll send you the Google Drive to be able to actually download these exact templates that we're talking about, use it, change them however you want, and let's actually show what this bot can do before we're going any further. So the first thing that we want was this customer had basically a list of emails that like a VIP list, and they want everybody to who talks to their bot to enter their email to not only send them receipts of their confirmation, but also to basically add them to like their marketing list. So the first thing we do is to check whether or not their email exists in the database, and if it doesn't, we'll add it. So let's say here, please enter your email. My email is team@ALLMYTE. And we'll now go ahead and actually double check using an Airtable database, which is right here where my email is. Now, after that, it will say, welcome back to our exclusive VIP list. We're glad to have you part of our loyal customer rewards program. Let's enhance your home experience. What's important to you? Now, keep in mind, I did change a couple of products for this demonstration just to not like put them on blast, but this is very similar to what they had. Let's say what's important to you. So let's say I go sensitive skin. Why not? I heard you mentioned having sensitive skin, and what did it say after that? Hypoallergenic needs. You want products that won't irritate or cause an allergic reaction. Which of our hypoallergenic options were you looking to find more out about? Eco-friendly table linens, designer fabric curtains, sustainable area rugs, or luxury bathrobes. Let's go bathrobes. Now, what's it supposed to do? It will try to cross-sell me or upsell me on something. I'm glad you chose our luxury bathrobes. They're super soft, etc. To further enhance your comfort, may I suggest browsing our sustainable area rugs? They're plush material and natural fibers create an inviting space to unwind in after a soothing bath. Let me know if you'd like to add a rug to your order. Now, if I press no, I want to check out, it'll basically just take us to the link page. But to show the power of this, let's say, yeah, sure, I want to combine and save. Because this answer will actually depend on what you select as a product choice and what your pain point is. Fantastic. Now, for the luxury bathrobes, what size are we looking for? Let's say I'm an ultra medium. Great. What about color? Let's go pure white. Now, for the sustainable area rugs, what size are we looking for? Let's do pretty big bathroom. Let's do 8 by 10 feet. As far as color goes, let's make it match the bathrobes. So let's go Arctic white. Now, what it should do is that it will basically make me a link that will have both products. Fantastic. Here are the links you need. Add to cart, luxury bathrobes, sustainable area rug. Now, the important part here is that in the actual, now these aren't real links, keep in mind, but if you'll notice, if I go to if you see in the URLs, this one is size medium color and pure white, which are the exact size we chose. And if I go down to the sustainable rugs, the size is 8 by 10 feet and the color is Arctical white. So depending on what basically like options I choose, it'll give me a different link so that whenever I click on them, I can directly go to that page. Now, these are links that actually work. These aren't real URLs. Like there's no actual options for pure white, but it takes me to the URL for this. And if I go a bit lower on this one, so you can imagine that if I actually wanted these like bots, or if I actually wanted these links, then I could just click here. All right, that should give you a pretty good idea of what the bot in action looks like. Here's how we actually went ahead and built it. Now, if you want to follow along, just click the link in the description, download this, and you'll be able to see this on your side. But the first thing that happens is basically an intro that says, welcome back to Home Plus to get started, etc. Then we're capturing an email. And if there's no match to that email, all it's saying is that please enter an email address to get started. Now, the second part, which is a lot more important, and I had a lot of questions about this last time, so I'm going to really make sure to make this clear or to make this as insightful as possible, which is the Airtable integration. Because this is where even I had the most amount of trouble. Every time I work with Airtable and VoiceFlow, it's just a pain. I don't know why, but here's how we made it work. The first thing we do is we're making a GET request to that Airtable to get the email address that we just inputted. So you see here where I put capture email. What this is doing is it's capturing the email and then assigning it to a variable called email. What we're then doing is we're going on Airtable and we're making an API call, which is a get request to try to find if we can see, is there any other record in this Airtable that has the email. The actual database looks like this. Now, these are a couple just dummy emails. This is the one that we just put in, right? So if I go back in VoiceFlow, I have how do you call it? How do you get this get request like this? All I do is I go on ChatGPT and I say, hey, look, I can literally just send a screenshot of this. Or if you want even more help, I can click on help right here and I go to API documentation, open link in new tab, and then I go to table 1, which is the name of the table, and I just copy this entire thing, whereas retrieve a record, get request. This is the type of get request that we need, right? But if you actually want to recreate this yourself, what I would do is I would just basically copy and paste this thing, because you have to filter it by formula to make sure that the formula you want is equal to the email thing. Copy and paste this, put into ChatGPT, and tell it, hey, look, take this link, but just update it with my Airtable. And the my Airtable portion of that is going to be copying this whole thing. ChatGPT can actually take a lot. So sometimes I even copy the entire documentation and just shove it in there and say, hey, look, fix this. Once you have the get request, it's really important to have two, basically, you're going to capture two different variables. The first one is going to be the actual email. Because if I do a run request right here, and I do email, generate, this is what's going to return, right? So what I want is I want to make sure that in fields, the email that I get, I want to capture this to a variable, right? And I'm calling that variable Airtable email response. And then what I'm doing, I'm also capturing another variable, which is going to be called basically the Airtable ID. So if I do send a request again, you're going to see right here, this is the ID. Now we need this ID later on in order to actually do comparisons and to update this database. So just basically make sure that you capture both of these if you want to recreate this. After that, it's actually pretty straightforward. All we're doing is we're checking whether this email exists. If they're the same, then keep going because the customer already exists and their emails are in our database. If it's not equal or if there is no response, that means that this is a new customer. So what we want to do is to then add. I'll start with the new one first. We're sending a post request, which is actually pretty straightforward. Authorization, bear, and then in headers I have content type dash type, and then application / JSON. In the body, just copy and paste this, the records, and then the fields, the email. And I cannot make this clear enough. My best friend, when I'm making these, is ChatGPT. It is really, really powerful for these sorts of things. I'm just basically updating that list. And if I do send a request and I do a new email like Jason at ALLMYTE.com, generate, just said, okay, if it's code 200, that means that works. If I go back in my Airtable, and I found Jason at ALLMYTE.com. Perfect. Going back in VoiceFlow. After we've added them to our Airtable, assuming they were new customers, we're simply thanking them using a set AI response, and then their email is that. Basically just saying, thanks for joining our email list. Now, if this customer already exists, right? If the condition comes back as true, all that's happening is we're saying, hey, look, in one or two sentences, welcome the existing customer back. Their name is first name, if you happen to have the first name. They're part of an exclusive VIP list. If there's no first name, don't refer to them by name. Pretty straightforward. Now this keep looping until they actually put an email. This would be if you want to make like some updates. If you want to make this a bit more powerful, what you could do is you would have like a kind of a cop out where if somebody doesn't want to enter their email, they can still go through the funnel. But this customer didn't want that, so this was just basically a suggestion. Now let's enhance your home experience, and this is pretty straightforward as well. It's basically just a bunch of different buttons that we have, and whenever somebody clicks on a button, it then sets a variable called pain point to that specific button. So if they're concerned in skincare concerns, then we're going to put the action as set the variable pain point to a value of skincare concerns, reducing irritation, and anti-aging. Same thing for all that. This takes a little bit of manual work, to be honest. I'm sure there are better ways of doing this, but if you have a small amount of products and you have a small amount of pain points, this is a very simple way of doing it. And it also makes sure that you basically touch the stages that you want, or that you're taking the customer through the journey that you want to take them on, not that they have a lot of control. Because there are other versions of these AI bots where You're basically letting the AI handle a lot of it. We suggested that as well, but they were really adamant about this working in their particular manner, which is coherent with I believe it's called the Sandler cell technique. But this is what it turns out to be like afterwards, which it works fine. It's just there is a little bit of it's not going to feel as human as a purely AI bot simply because it's not, right? A lot of it is static, but if it kind of it's a healthy balance, I would say, for very specific types of people. Now, in the event that they enter something that isn't one of these eight, we have we have a backup plan, which is to basically make sure that we reprompt the user basically by answering a question. So if that's something about, I don't know, pricing, something like that, then it'll basically just reprompt them and say, hey, look, I understand your question. The best way that I can help you is by selecting one of these options to see what products you want, and then we can keep going. Just to make sure that they're staying within the guardrails of the conversation that we want them to have. Now, the part that gave me the most amount of trouble, I'm not exactly sure why, was after they selected a pain point and we have their variable as pain point, one thing that we want to do, especially if this is something that you're creating for yourself or for your own company, or if you're an agency, you're making this for other people, one thing that has a huge amount of value is understanding what your customers are coming to you for and why. Because you can have different products and you can make assumptions, but getting first-hand data is super, super important. So what we've done is that every single time somebody puts in their pain point, we will actually update Airtable with that person's email, but also with a pain point as to why they're having this conversation. Let me show you an example. So let me start back here, and then I'll put my name as team at ALLMYTE. Now, while I'm doing this, I want you to keep in mind that the pain point here, you see, right, it says sensitive skin / allergies. Now, if I go back on my bot and I say my concern isn't skincare, it's value for money. That's what I want. That's the reason why I'm here. If I check again, I now have value for money as my pain point. Now, the whole purpose of this is that not only do you understand why people are coming to you, but you can now basically make your marketing strategy or update it to actually be based off of real world data from what your customer is coming to you for. So if I know that 100% or 90% of the people who are coming to me are coming because they have hair care issues, then that's what I'm going to make my ads about. That's what I'm going to start focusing on when I'm talking to people about my products. It's how good they are for hair, because that's what most people come to my company for. Now, going back into voice flow, I hope, by the way, that was insightful. The patch request is actually pretty simple. All we're doing is that we're taking the Airtable ID. Remember how we said we need two variables from Airtable right all the way in the beginning, all the way here? The point of this is so that in the patch request, this is the Airtable ID. If you do not have the initial get request to get the ID, this will not work. All we're doing is we're taking the Airtable ID and we're saying, look, wherever this ID is valid or wherever this ID is, I want you to add the pain point of like hair care in that field, which is what allows us to dynamically change this database based off of my email and my pain point. Now that we know the pain point of our customers, what we're doing is we need to find them a solution. We understand their problem, let's fix it. The second stage is we're saying, okay, look, you have the customer's pain point. Repeat and summarize it to the customer to make sure that they understand what problem that we're trying to solve, and then ask which of the following products they want to fix this product or to fix this problem. And that looks like a bunch of different buttons like this. And all we're doing is we've taken the different products. In this case, I just took some example ones, which are table linens, fabric curtains, area rugs, and bathrobes. Now, if they say something that isn't any of these, or that maybe they ask a question, then we're basically saying, hey, look, I understand your point, but could you please suggest, or could you please choose one of these? And if that can help you, reach out to support. And the whole reason why we have these like outs is we want to make sure that we're keeping the conversation within the guardrails that we have defined, which means you're trying to hit stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that specific order, because that's what has worked for us so far. Now, we're going to reinforce the decision and then try to either upsell them or cross-sell them. And this is actually a pretty straightforward prompt. We're basically just saying, hey, look, here's the pain point. Here's what they want to buy. Now, based off of these things, I usually suggest a product they can then add on to that initial product. Yeah, and right here it says using the Sandler sale technique. So basically this gives them two options. Either, yes, combine and save. For example, if you say, hey, look, if you buy product A and product B, then you're going to get a 5-10% discount. If they say yes, which is this little if condition here, so basically two buttons, you want to set the product name or set the second product to a variable called second product. So what we've done is we've said, hey, look, this is the product. This is their pain point. Sorry, the customer's pain point. This is the product that they chose. Now you just ask them this. So we're taking the last response variable here, which is basically the answer to this. After we've prompted the AI to respond, now we're saying, hey, look, you just said this, and they just said yes. So whatever product was suggested, take that product and add it to a second variable called second product. There's only 4 options here, which are the different products that we have. And now what we're doing is we're saying, all right, perfect. We have the first product, we have our second product. Now let's go to sizes and options. And here's basically just a little if statement that says, depending on what product you chose, if it's the eco-friendly table linens, if it's the curtains, if it's the rugs, if it's the bathrobes, it basically goes to this gigantic, like, different sections of basically colors and sizes, etc. Now, one thing I want to make very clear, I'm sure there is a better way, especially if a lot of products, to like shrink this down, maybe using components or just like a loop thing. But for us, it wasn't really our concern at the moment. So, and since we have such a low amount of products and quite like a limited amount of sizes and colors, it wasn't too much to add to just do it ourselves manually to make sure that we stay within the guardrails. And after this, it's actually pretty straightforward. And we're just saying, hey, look, these are different colors, different sizes for each product. So the table linen size, color, fabric, curtain size, color, and over again for every product that we have, right? And there's 4 of them. And every time that they basically choose one of these, it adds it to a variable for that specific product. So for example, we had area rugs. We have different variables here with different sizes. And if they choose the small version, then we're just setting the variable rug size to small. After that, so once they've chosen, this is for product number 1. Now, what happens if there's 2 products? Well, in that case, we have a if statement afterwards, which basically says, if second product has any value, it will go down this path. And I'll saying that, okay, now for the second product, and then there's another if statement to determine which second product it is, which it's basically just, it's literally just a copy and paste of this, but for the second product. And the main difference being here that whatever they choose here, instead of being assigned to, for example, this would be bathrobe size number 1, this is bathrobe size 2. Once we have both of these, we now have the 2 products, both sizes, and both colors, and a bunch of variables. Now, one of the most important aspects of this bot, and I'm not exactly sure why it didn't work in the demonstration earlier, is in the same way that we want to know why our customers are coming to us, which is why we add the pain point as part of our database. It's also really important for marketing purposes, for business purposes, just to know what products are my customers adding. So after somebody goes through this whole thing, right? They selected their products, they've selected their colors, their sizes, etc. We're making another patch request to AirTable, which is this thing right here. And we're basically just updating their email or their email like record with what products they initially selected. So that even, for example, let's say that they selected both these products, but they for some reason didn't check out, right? So we know people want our products. We know they chose both of them, but for some reason they didn't check out, right? It's not covering to sales. At least I know where the friction is. If they're getting to the point where their products are showing up here, then I know that they got this far in the bot. But for some reason, they never checked out. And also, it can also really make it clear if there's a specific combination that people are getting, if there's specific pain point to product 1, product 2 relation. There's a lot of data in knowing what products your customers want. And I'll show you a little example here, but basically what I have to do is use send request, AirTable ID, which we got right in the beginning. Then you can do product choice, such as bathrobe. And then rugs. Sure. Generate code 200. If I go in here, I now have bathrobes and rugs. Perfect. Now, the last thing that we're doing is basically setting a link for product 1 and setting a link for product 2. And this is an AI step, and all it's doing is we're saying, based on the user's input, respond with the appropriate link, taking into consideration the item, color, and size. So we have a bunch of variables here, from product choice to color, curtains color, linens color, rug color, bathroom color, and then size. So most of these variables are going to be empty or with a 0, but our AI is smart enough to recognize and just ignore those. So what it will do, it will take the product choice, which is going to be either curtains, rugs, bathrobe, or sorry, like one of the products, right? Curtains, rugs, bathrobes, or linens. And then it will take the color and it will take the size to then find a link for that specific product. Where are those products? It's in our knowledge base, which I will go over in just 1 second. Hey everyone, as I was recording this, I realized that I didn't show the actual knowledge base. It's actually pretty simple. The entire knowledge base for this whole bot is just a bunch of URL links, and the reason how it can actually differentiate which link to send to which choice of product, let's say, is simply because in the actual URL links, if you see here, the different options are actually included within the links. So this is, for example, this robe is small and the color is plush navy. This one is right here. Or if I scroll down, you'll see this robe is large and the color is soft pink. So it's smart enough to understand, okay, this is the URL link that I need. That's literally the only thing. There's no other context. All right, let's go back into our video. And all it does, it responds with a link, nothing else, no comments, no opinions, no quotations. A link is the only possible output. And we're simply saying that to a variable called product 1. And then if I go to the if block right after, if there's a second product, there's going to be a copy paste of this right here that does the exact same thing, but this time for product 2. And the main difference being here is every single variable is the same except it has a 2 added before it, because that are these variables right here. Set the link. Now we have both links. Right after that, we have a go to product page, which is fantastic choice. Here are the links: product link 1, product linked 2. And we also have a carousel or like image cards, which basically give you to make it a bit more visually appealing. Little side note: if there's only one product, it will not show this. It will only show, if you follow this little road, if there's only one product, it will only show the card item with their one. And that is how the voice flow portion of it works. I mean, after that, you've basically done most of the work. It is a pretty substantial project, but realistically, there's not that much AI into it since it has to follow those guardrails that I keep speaking about. So there's not that much AI actually. And keep in mind, this will be much more beneficial if you only have maybe between 1 and 4 products. I can't really see being this sustainable beyond that, especially if you have multiple combinations. Because keep in mind, the main weakness of this is that the combinations are only 2, so you can have one product and then add another one. But if you want to add the third product, that basically increases the complexity exponentially. But like I said, the entire voice flow template will be in the Google Drive. The Airtable isn't super complex. I mean, there's not much. There's email, there's name, there's pain, product 1, product 2. The name, I haven't really used it in this specific case because we didn't have the opportunity to. But you could add a thing in the beginning where could you please enter your name and your email, and now you have the name column filled out. Apart from that, I hope this was beneficial. Especially, I hope the Airtable aspect came across the way I wanted to, because I know a lot of people have trouble with those. Believe me, I have trouble with it as well. But it's just a matter of whenever I get stuck, I just use previous versions or previous bots or projects on VoiceFlow that did work, and they just copy and paste those. So as you can see here, all of these work. So you can just download the template, copy and paste the Airtable, like copy and paste the Airtable card into your product that you actually need, and just tell ChatGPT to make it work for your use case, and you should be ready to go. Apart from that, if you need any help with anything, feel free to leave it in the comments. I know I haven't been really good at getting back to you guys, but it's just we've been so busy on our end that it's difficult to keep up, especially with YouTube. I'll try to be more consistent even with the uploads. If there's anything that I missed, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.